Hello and welcome to a review video of the Ben 10 Alien Force Ultimate Omnitrix toy. Now this is something that came out so many years ago, late 2000s, that's what I'm trying to say, I nearly said 200s. Late 2000s, and this was an interesting toy for me personally because when I was watching Ben 10, I only watched the original series. I stopped watching before this was introduced. That was more like the second version of Ben 10, but again, as a kid, I thought, you know what, that's a new Omnitrix, new toy, let's get one. Had a bit of fun with it, but sadly it didn't stick around. This doesn't, bring back any memories because I didn't watch the TV show where this was a part of. But I think this is an interesting Omnitrix toy nonetheless. So it's very different to the original Omnitrix, which I put somewhere. There we go. Hang on. Just to do a comparison. So this is the original, and this is the one that came after that. It is very different in design. Obviously, the center design logo is pretty much the same. Straps are done in a very similar way, but there are differences in the straps. And all in all, the way that this Omnitrix toy behaves is different. So first of all, the on-off switch is on this side. So if we were going to look at it this way, the on-off switch will be sat on the bottom. So as I'm wearing it, it's there. So there's no try me section either, which is a bit interesting, but at the same time with how this functions, it kind of makes sense. So turning it on, saw the little flash there, that's a way of saying, yep, the toy is on. You press this top button here to bring up that top section. There's these two pillar pieces on the side, you can press them in, it's a bit springy. I don't know what that's supposed to do, but you can't really make it do anything. So yeah, interesting how that's there. With this toy, when you turn the dial to select your alien, you can just turn this top piece like you would with any other Omnitrix. Well, at least the previous. I don't know what's like going forward. You can just turn it a small amount, or you could turn it a large amount. There's nothing really stopping you from turning it and constantly activating that noise. But it's done so differently. There's no aliens being displayed in the center, and that's on purpose. So just before we go further, I'm just going to line that up because I just want to make sure it looks nice. Slamming it down, there was a bit of light, so there was a bit of sound, and that was pretty much as far as it goes on its own. Now this Omnitrix toy, I do remember, does come with one of these little figures. So this, I believe, is called Swampfire. Now I think this might have been the one that came with the actual Omnitrix toy itself. So the way that it works, you can see that there's this sort of line going between the main centerpiece and the piece that you turn. So what you would do, because you need to kind of put this on in a specific way. So again, button will be at the bottom. So you want to have this figure facing the button, if that makes sense. So you apply it there, push it down. You're going to have to make sure it's all nice and snug all across the Omnitrix toy. Now the reason why it looks like this, because in the TV series, when it turned into this version of the Omnitrix, if you activate it, instead of seeing it on a screen, a holographic projection will come up and it will show the alien you could transform into. That's what this figure represents. So because it's on, I've got my alien selected. Let me just for the sake of making that noise, I've chosen my alien. Some lights, some sounds, and that is it. We get the lights for a few seconds, but in time they go off. There we go. Now there is no cooldown time in comparison to the original Omnitrix toy. You had 60 seconds before you had the shutdown noise and you turn back into your human self. With this, that's it. So you can now go through that process again. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn that off so I can shut that down without making the noise go off. And change this out for another alien, but there are some problems I've had with taking these off. Two things. First of all, this one in particular is really flimsy. Getting a hold of it is a bit tricky because instead of pulling it off, I'm just bending it. I don't want to warp this. Secondly, when I go to put this in, you need to make it nice and snug, but taking it off can be a bit difficult. Oh, there we go. Can be a bit difficult, but it turns out in this case, yeah, it's quite generous. So this one, Swampfire. I have 3 more. Let's see if I can name them. Humongosaur, I remember that one. That was a kind of a mainstay for the new series of Ben 10. This one, I believe, is called Jet Ray. It's like naming G.I. Joe characters. And this one I believe is called Echo Echo, some of the kind of original versions of these aliens. So I'm going to grab all 4 now. So just to show them off one more time, just to kind of line them up. Let's see how well this goes. Without dropping any. Come on, I can do this. So there we go. Those are the 4 projections that I've got. I believe these came with action figures that were compatible with this Omnitrix toy. That's a really cool way of selling the the action figures as well as the Omnitrix. You want to get this little projection thing? Get yourself an action figure. Nowadays that would be compared to microtransactions, but at the same time, that's pretty cool. There's nothing from stopping you from getting these projections on eBay as well. I'm not going to get any of these because I'm not as familiar with this version of the Omnitrix as I am with the original. But I think that's still a cool thing nonetheless. What I'm going to do is actually put down the swamp fire because we just heard what that sounds like. Each projection has its own, not lights, but has its own sounds as well because it recognises what projection figure is on the Omnitrix. But actually what I should do just before then, there's something else I want to display. So I'm going to try and put this on, and it's going to be a little bit difficult because unlike the original Omnitrix toy where I had those teeth on the, or like the hooks rather, on the straps, this just has these small teeth pieces. There's nothing really stopping the strap from falling off. So I'm going to do this one take. Here we go. I'm going to put this on. Now again, in comparison to the original toy, this is a bit tricky to keep on. There we go. So let me just make sure that's all nice and secure. There we go. So there we are. It's on my wrist, looking pretty good. But looking at the strap here, you can see if I turn it that way, you can see it's kind of peeling there. And I might have to push that every few minutes or so. And if that peels off, that'll lead to only one more being secure. That could peel off, and that could be a problem. I don't believe my wrist is too big if I just use this one, for example. Again, I'm 22 years old. I don't really have big arms. But that wrist size there, it's nothing too big, so I think I could really get away with this. In comparison to the other Omnitrix, just one more comparison. This top section is so much more bulky, and I think if I'm going to go ahead and modify this, I'd have to work something on the strap just to make it match the scale of this top piece. I don't think it's necessary, but you know, personal preference. Okay, so we've had Swamp Fire. Next, let's go with this one. So, toy back on. Oh, didn't want to. Hang on, let me do that again. I think it was too quick. So, turn it back on again. There we go. That might have been a good idea because if I'm going to put this on, I'm going to end up pushing down the top piece. Okay, let's try that one more time. So again, if I turn this way, you can see that the switch is facing me. Figure, put it on, facing me. Okay, nice and secure. One more time. That's up, now down. Okie doke. Humongosaur. Oh, had a bit of a struggle trying to get that off there, but I think Humongosaur is the best one to do it because it's such a chunky figure. Put on the next one. There we go. This should be Echo Echo. There we go, that's pretty cool. It's leaning a little bit. I don't know if that's supposed to be like that. You know, if you look at it sideways, it's leaning forwards. I hope that isn't warped in any way, but that's not too much of a problem because I don't really see myself ever using that. And finally, we have what should be Jet Ray. Putting it on, making sure it's nice and secure. Going upwards and now back down. Oh, it didn't register. That's a problem. Let's try that one more time. Okay, it's not registered Jet Ray at all. Now that's a problem because I definitely recognize Jet Ray working before. Let me take this off because it's just getting a bit sweaty. But nonetheless, I want to make sure I can actually get this off without any problems. There we go. But yeah, I think that's a really cool idea of having those figures kind of displayed in its own unique way and it can be recognized by the Omnitrix toy. That is really cool. The compatibility is one of the best selling points, but of all the versions of the Omnitrix, I only have 2. and I'd still rather go with the original because it's one I'm most familiar with, and I think it looks the coolest. It also functions better as well. If I just grab that one more time, with the idea of it just showing the aliens there instead of having some kind of somewhat complicated projection system with other compatible pieces. You know, some people might not prefer that, but nonetheless, that is it for my review of the Alien Force Ultimate Omnitrix. I think that's the name. Again, with all the research that I did, that is what I came to the conclusion for this version of the Omnitrix. Ben 10 is a very weird addition to my channel, but it's nice to expand and do more things, and it's also nice to kind of go on a nostalgic trip for me because Ben 10 was one of the best TV shows from me when I was a kid. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next episode. Bye.